Last time I worked on the initial sketch, and this time I'm now ready to start to apply some shading to what is the underdrawing. This allows me to see shape and form, and also get an idea of how the overall picture will start to look. Now, I'm using a blending stump to do this, but there are many other things that you can use. Various artists use different things, anywhere from kitchen paper, makeup sponges, cotton wool, and there are numerous other things that can be used. But for what I'm doing here, I'm using the blending stump. I feel it just gives me a little bit more control. This blending stump is saturated with graphite from lots of use, but if I do feel that I need to add any more to it, I can simply do this by just dipping it in a pot of graphite powder. After doing this, there will be a degree of residue left on the end of the blender, so I want to use this on a piece of scrap paper first before going back into the picture. Now, because I use the Caran d'Ache pencils, I also chose to make the powder out of a 3B Caran d'Ache block, and that way I know I get consistency between the tones. Also as well, if you are interested, I have put a link in the description below that shows how I made the powder. Now, I've used a 3B because I know that blends nice and smoothly. You can see that here as I apply the tone, always working in the direction that the fur takes. Also as well, if any areas need to be darker, then I can just simply go back over these again and just add another layer of tone. If I do make any mistakes or need to lighten areas or draw any tone out, then I can just simply again do this with the kneadable eraser. The great thing I find about working this way is it's a very non-invasive way to work into the paper, and this makes any alterations or changes still relatively easy to make at this stage. I can simply continue this process as I work over the rest of the drawing. Now, this is quite crude, but at the end of the day it is only there to give me an idea of shape and form. So with this part of the shading complete, I now want to start to work in a bit finer detail. So to do this, I'm going to start to use my 2B pencil, and I want to start to work around the eyes and the nose. I think you can see that by applying more tone around the eye, this has the immediate effect of adding more depth. I then just repeat this for the other eye before moving on to the surrounding area. Carefully working around highlights and also applying darker tone to other parts. This added level of contrast and detail again gives the picture more depth. Now, by applying tone to the paper first with the blender, this has the effect of brushing tone down into the grain of the paper. This means that when the pencils are used lightly over the top, some of this grain can show through, and this will help to create a very subtle skin texture. The inside of the nostril wants to be really dark, so before taking the blender to it, I first added a bit more graphite to it with the powder. For very dark recessed areas like this, it makes sure that there is a nice dark tone in the grain of the paper. And this way, when the 2B pencil is applied over the top, no grain will show through and I'll have a nice dark even tone. For any skin areas such as the nose or around the eyes, this gives me the ability to be able to adjust the amount of grain that shows through, and this depends purely on the type of effect that I want to create. To tie the nose into the rest of the picture, I now just loosely sketch in some of the fur on the muzzle. As you can see, by just adding this bit of tone, it does quite dramatically change the look of the picture. And if you do have any questions, then just drop them in the comment section below. Next time I can start to work on the eyes, and that's where the real character will start to come through. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.